Welcome to your mini course, the 4 steps to longer nights, easier naps, and more self-soothing. I'm Emma, the owner and founder here at Baby Sleep Consultant. I am a certified infant and child sleep consultant and the happiest baby on the block educator. I also trained with the Royal Children Melbourne Hospital in sleep education. I have a BSc in biology and a diploma in teaching. I have been working as a sleep consultant for over 12 years now, and I have had the privilege here at Baby Sleep Consultant. We have helped over 150,000 families, which is just phenomenal, and we have loved working with every single one of you guys. Over the last 12 years, I have worked out these 4 simple steps that will help anybody really begin to create longer naps, easier nights, easier self-settling, and overall just better sleep. And I'm going to run you through these 4 steps today. I think what a lot of people don't realize is just how much of their child's sleep is within their control. So we know that when we have newborn babies, their sleep is around 50% nurture and 50% nature. So 50% of how well your newborn sleeps is just down to genetics, and we can only really influence the other 50% based on what we do. But as your child gets older and older and leaves the newborn months, that 50-50 split becomes a lot more dependent on nurture. That is, what we do as parents has a huge influence on how long our babies sleep for at night, whether they learn to self-soothe, and how well they nap. And I think personally that's good news, because it means that we can change what we're doing, we can positively influence our children's sleep, and overall get more sleep for our entire family. There is a lot of talk and discuss out there around, this is just something all babies have to go through, just hang in there, this too will pass, this is biologically normal. But at the end of the day, you absolutely can influence and change the way your baby's sleeping if they're not sleeping very well. So let's get on to the 4 steps that I know you will be able to implement at your place to improve the way your baby sleeps. So this is a mini course. We're going to go through the 4 steps as 4 little mini modules. If you want any more information, I highly recommend that you jump through to my website. There's over 300 blogs on there. And then on top of that, we have our online sleep program, which is incredibly popular. Comes with email support and 3 months access to Sleepify, which is our video library. So if you feel like at the end of this, I need a little bit more information, I highly recommend that you jump on the website to look for some more information. So module 1, we're going to go through the benefits of moving bedtime earlier and why you might want to consider this if your little one is not sleeping very well. Module 2, we're going to look at encouraging self-soothing. Module 3, my favorite, less attention during the night. Always love a solution that is about doing less, not more. And module 4 is about protecting the naps. So we'll run through those 4 modules now. This is a mini course, so this should only take about 20 minutes if you're wondering how much time to carve out for this mini course. So often parents end up with a late bedtime due to a hangover from the newborn months when their baby was cluster feeding and didn't go to bed until late. So this sort of hangs around post newborn months, but actually biologically your baby is probably very much ready for an earlier bedtime. So once your newborn is out of that 6 to 8 week very young newborn phase, I generally find that babies sleep better with an earlier bedtime. A small amount of extra sleep, say from even 6:30, 7 p.m. or 7 to 7:30 p.m., when you bring that bedtime half an hour earlier, this can help prevent that hyperarousal or overtiredness, which we see in a lot of babies throughout the night. And this sort of looks like difficulty falling asleep at bedtime, frequent wake-ups through the night, and that extreme sort of hyperactivity right before bed in the evening. So if you're thinking that maybe your little one is a little bit overtired in the evening, getting into that sort of hyperarousal state, then we can look at this and say, okay, this is often characterized by that 45-minute wake into the night sleep, which people now like to call a false start. So if your baby is doing what you call a false start or waking 45 minutes into their night sleep, then this is often a sign that they might be going to bed a bit overtired. The other one is waking around 9, between 9 and 10 p.m. I find this is very rarely hunger and often actually just overtiredness. The other one is they're having trouble resettling after they wake at that 9 or 10 o'clock, or they're becoming very dependent on feeds at these times to get back to sleep. So perhaps they're doing the false start, and the only way to get them back to sleep is at the 45-minute mark is to feed. This is a bit of a sign that they probably should have gone to bed a bit earlier and they're a bit overtired. And an earlier bedtime will not necessarily cause your baby to wake earlier in the morning. This is a really common concern, but remember your newborn education, and sleep begets sleep. So the more your baby sleeps, the more they sleep to a certain point. So more sleep at the front end of the night makes it easier for baby to sleep through those morning hours, as long as we're working within the realms of the sleep that your baby needs. And we can always see if we're working within that realm of the sleep that your baby needs based on their behavior. If they're waking very content and very happy, they've had enough sleep. If they're waking very upset, they likely haven't had enough sleep. Okay, if we carry on with the whole theme of sleep begets sleep, if your baby does wake up rested, we often have more success with naps too. So if they're not waking up early in the morning and cranky and overtired, then we're not going to be battling hyperarousal and overtiredness all day from the get-go. And on the flip side of this, I commonly see children wake up from a late bedtime and a disturbed night, and they're actually already overtired. It's 6 o'clock in the morning and they're already scratchy and irritable. And by the time their first nap rolls around, the first nap doesn't go well. And this kind of sets the tone for the whole day. And a lot of the time, this can all be overcome by an earlier bedtime. This is such an easy fix. Moving bedtime a smidge earlier, 20 to 30 minutes after looking at tired signs in the evening, is a really easy solution. Look at your baby's behavior from 6 p.m. till bedtime. Ask yourself, do they fall asleep feeding? Do they cry when they get out of the bath? Are they struggling to feed? Are they struggling to finish a feed? Are they crying a lot at bedtime? Do you feel like you're forcing them to stay awake, holding them out for like this elusive 7 p.m. bedtime? Or maybe you're busy with other children and they're having to go to bed later but seem to be struggling with this. Try an earlier bedtime for 3 nights. Give it 3 nights and note down the effects on your baby's night sleep. Always give any change at least 3 nights before deciding if it had a positive impact or not. Too often I see parents just try something for one day and then want to try something new the next day because it didn't have a great impact. And when it comes to your earlier bedtime, make sure your routine before bedtime is consistent but brief. Don't drag it out too much. It should involve a feed, some dim lighting, and a cuddle before bed. Pop them down awake and leave the room. When a bedtime routine is used alongside putting your baby down to bed earlier and awake, we see huge improvements in just 3 days. Okay, module 2. We're talking now about encouraging your baby to self-soothe. And this begins with learning to put your baby down ready to sleep, but not asleep. Some people call this drowsy but awake, but I find this terminology a little bit confusing because parents ask me how drowsy, how awake, and a lot of the time the drowsy is actually a light sleep. And then they wake them up, and this approach is really unsuccessful. So instead of drowsy but awake, I prefer to say they're ready to sleep, but they're not asleep. If you're following a routine or awake windows, watch the clock and your baby. And once they start to show tired signs and it nears the last sort of 10 to 15 minutes of when you would expect their awake period to be ending, then you want to start their pre-sleep ritual and prepare them for a nap. What you're trying to do is you're trying to catch them when their natural sleep rhythm wants to nap or wants to go to bed for the night. Working with that rhythm and not against it always makes sleep much easier to achieve. Think of their need to sleep and their sleep rhythm as a wave. We want to catch the wave, we don't want to let it pass, and for your baby to become overtired and grumpy. I recommend that you try to start putting your baby down awake from an early age. It can be a little bit of work from there to getting them to sleep with rocking and patting and dummies and soothing. This is when they're newborns. So do this as often as you feel you have like the emotional energy available to do this. I totally understand the newborn months are difficult and some days you're just not going to have the capacity to do this and you're just going to want to sit and sort of snuggle on the couch. But the reason that we want to start focusing on this early is because you'll be watching your baby and you can slowly start to soothe them less and less and less, even when they're newborns. Your baby will start to show you signs they don't need as much help. They'll be less fussy, they'll cry less, and they'll settle faster. The more consistent you are with the way you settle your baby from awake to asleep in the cot, the faster this happens. Children, like all humans, strive on consistency and routine. Once your baby has left the newborn months, you can start to work on putting them down even more awake, so less settling in the arms and allowing them to do more and more of that settling in the cot. This move to encouraging self-soothing will start to give you longer naps and longer nights, as well as easier settling. Focusing on self-soothing has been shown in research to improve sleep in as little as 3 to 7 days. Certainly in my experience over the last 12 years, working with over 150,000 clients, nights improve in 3 days with self-soothing, and naps definitely start to improve in that 7-day window. Remember, when you start to focus on improving sleep with things like self-soothing, the improvements are sequential and you won't see everything fall into place all at once. You will usually see nights improve first, then the mid-morning nap, then the lunch nap or the mid-afternoon nap. So give this process time and be patient while being consistent. I think knowing that things don't fall into place simultaneously, but it happens sequentially, this means that you can stagger what you work on if you choose. So I find a lot of my clients, when I'm working one-on-one with them or my team is, or they're working through our online program, we will start with nights for 3 days. And then once the nights and the whole bedtime routine falls into place and the baby starts self-soothing, then we'll start looking at days. But while we're working on nights, they will just do whatever is easy during the day to continue to help baby to nap, but not stress about self-soothing during the day. Then the nights fall into place, mum starts to feel a little bit more human because they're getting some more sleep at night, and then we have a little bit of energy to start working on naps during the day. I think it's hard to imagine just how good you'll actually feel once your baby is taking 4 to 6 hours of sleep at night, and that means you also get 4 to 6 hours of sleep continuously at night. That improvement in night sleep gives parents the emotional and physical energy they need to start tackling day sleeps and working on self-soothing during the day. This process of staggering what you're working on is really successful, and it feels a lot more achievable to really sleep-deprived parents who are exhausted and can't imagine having to focus on self-soothing all day and all night for 7 days. So if that's you and you feel overwhelmed by the thought of working on self-soothing, then take this action point and just focus on nights first. Okay, module 3, less attention at night. Giving your baby's night wakes less attention is actually a surefire way to improve nights. From the moment your baby is born, their brain is really busy working on maturing their circadian rhythm. This is their internal clock. And contrary to popular belief, it is not something which turns on like a switch at 6 months. It is gradually maturing from birth, and it is pretty well established by 3 to 4 months. This internal clock is really powerful. It is regulated and reset by external cues each day, which is why the experiments with humans living in complete darkness showed a gradual slide in the circadian rhythm. The internal clock needs these external cues to stay on track. These external cues are food, light, and social interaction. And these 3 cues tell the internal clock it is daytime. So if we take away the light and make humans live in complete darkness for a month or so, then you can see after just a few days this clock starts to slip and it can't actually hold a 24-hour rhythm. That's how powerful these cues are. So we can use this to our advantage at night and reduce the light or eliminate the light, reduce or eliminate social interaction, and start to reduce food when appropriate. One thing that parents really struggle to understand is that reducing social interactions doesn't just mean not smiling and chatting at night. Often the way that we settle can be very stimulating. A lot of picking up, putting down, patting, walking around the room, switching parents, and all of this involves a lot of social interaction. Doing a lot less can really quickly resolve excessive night wakes, but it can be really hard for parents to get their head around doing less and not more. One study that I frequently refer to for parents who are just starting to consider self-soothing is a study which looked at the factors that led to a baby becoming a long night sleeper by 12 months or remaining a short night sleeper. And the big factor that we focus on here at Baby Sleep Consultant was leaving baby for up to 3 minutes before responding at night. Now, that's up to 3 minutes. You don't have to start with 3 minutes. But 3 minutes is a nice, easy number to remember, and it doesn't feel too overwhelming. The reason this works is that if your baby has just woken from the end of a sleep cycle and needs to go back to sleep, and they're not hungry, they're not in pain, a lot of the time in that short 3 minutes, they will actually go back to sleep. But a lot of us get into the habit of really quickly jumping up and trying to silence the crying as fast as possible. And this means baby never gets a chance to try and go back to sleep. And this trying to go back to sleep is something we call teaching time. Often my clients will adopt the 3-minute rule, and sure, in the first few days or even the first week, baby doesn't go back to sleep. But all of that is teaching time, and it starts to really add up. Baby is working on their skill of trying to put themselves back to sleep. Then slowly but surely they start to actually do it a little bit and learn a little bit more, and we start to see longer stretches of night sleep. Following the sleep study results, they become long night sleepers. And our final module 4, protect the naps. So naps are really important for overall healthy sleep and development. If you're struggling with naps, these 3 points will help you achieve better naps. Firstly, consider sleep environment, especially for babies who suffer from colic or reflux or are very easily distracted social kind of babies. These babies often sleep a lot better with a block-out blind and a nice cool room away from distractions. If you're watching this video module, chances are your baby doesn't nap very well, and you probably fall into the category that will sleep better in a dark, more sleep-inducive sleep environment. White noise is something else to consider, especially if your baby's under 8 months who still is not napping well, or relies on you to settle them for a nap. And you want to move away from this, try some white noise. A white noise machine can provide a nice consistent level of noise that not only blocks out sounds from the environment such as siblings, dogs, traffic, it can also help trigger that calming reflex in young babies, enabling them to settle faster. In older babies, it can even be a minor sort of distraction to focus on when first being put to bed awake without you soothing them all the way to sleep. Such a simple tool, it's definitely worth considering. And the final step in working on better naps is nap training. Here we consider 3 stages. Number 1 is sleep rhythm and when your baby naps. Number 2, can they settle without you for a nap? And number 3, resettling into a longer nap. I love awake windows, and the flexibility they give parents is great, but for some babies, especially those whose temperament trait of regularity is strong, these babies need more consistency with their timing. So depending on how you use awake windows, you might find some days your first nap is 8 a.m, other days it's 9 or 10 a.m. And this is a big change in nap timing. And this can lead your baby to having a sort of feeling of jet lag. And these babies really struggle to settle for naps. They're fussy before they're due for a nap, and they very rarely take a long nap. The sleep deprivation from short naps builds over days, and they become more and more ratty as the week goes on. All these signs tell us the baby will likely benefit from a bit more rhythm to their naps, and wake windows might need to be swapped for a bit more of a routine-based sleep. This can be achieved by starting the day at the same time each day, or as close to as possible, and then this allows for a more consistent first nap of the day. And that's the first step achieved in trying to regulate those naps. Aiming for more regular nap times or a nap routine is often the big factor that helps my long-term poor nappers start to actually nap better. I know a lot of parents worry they'll lose the freedom and flexibility of wake windows, but on the flip side, I think knowing when your baby will need a nap gives you the freedom to make plans in advance and gain actually more flexibility of being able to leave your baby to take a nap with someone else while you go out. Settling for naps is similar to settling for nights. when we start to focus on putting baby down awake for their naps and then working on self-soothing, we can start to see baby begin to settle faster, more consistently, and then start to take longer naps as they can start to put themselves back to sleep too. Working on self-soothing for naps is harder though than working on self-soothing for nights, which is why earlier I mentioned the option of doing this after you have worked on nights. You can stagger what you work on. Knowing it's harder and why it's harder can give you the insight you need to be more consistent and to actually see it through. So I'm going to explain to you now that during the night there is a huge shift in sleep hormones. Melatonin starts to rise early in the evening and cortisol starts to drop off. On top of this, by the end of the day, our levels of adenosine are really high, and this increase in adenosine is what causes an increase in sleep pressure. And only sleep or caffeine will lower these adenosine levels. So your body really wants to sleep during the night. However, during the day, there are only small shifts in melatonin and cortisol levels and smaller increases in adenosine. That's why your baby only needs to nap during the day for 1 to 2 hours, not 10 to 12 hours, because those hormones and those adenosine levels are a lot less. They're smaller shifts. But these lower levels mean that falling asleep is physiologically harder during the day than at night. So if you're trying to teach self-soothing during the day, it's harder for your baby. And I think knowing this gives people the knowledge to be patient with their baby during the day. They'll eventually get there, but teaching self-soothing just takes longer. It's not that the process isn't working, it's just that they need more teaching time than they do at night. Hopefully that was really helpful. If you're thinking about starting to work on your little one's sleep, you can begin to action those 4 points that we've gone through in this really short mini course. If you need some more help, I highly recommend jump onto the website, check out the online sleep program that we have. We have sleep programs for newborns, 3 to 8 month olds, 9 to 18 month olds, and then 18 months to 4 years. And all of our sleep programs and our one-on-one phone consult come with 3 months free access to Sleepify, worth $99, which is our video platform. So in there is all of our videos answering all your sleep questions, explaining all of our soothing methods, routines, and not only that, but all of our kind of case studies and flip books and masterclasses are all inside Sleepify. So that's an amazing bonus that you get with any of our sleep programs or one-on-one phone consults. If you're not sure what you need from us, but you just need some help, just book a free chat on the website and we'll give you a call and take you through options, see if we're a good fit, or what kind of help you might need from us. And if you're still watching, thanks so much for sticking around. Here I just have shared with you a couple of amazing feedbacks from clients that you might want to have a read through. We love hearing from our clients, and after 12 years in the industry, we obviously have a lot of feedback, and it's just amazing to hear everybody's changes in their little one's sleep over the years. Like this one here saying to think that they were waking 10 to 40 times a night 2 weeks ago, and now a maximum of 2 wakes. She is amazed. And then Michelle here talking about how she was really apprehensive about the process, but we made them feel really calm and reassured. And that's what we aim to do. You know, we're like your sleep cheerleader, taking you through this process, helping you along the way, making sure that you are successful in sleep training if that's what you decide to do. So hopefully this mini course has been helpful to you. Jump on the website if you need some more help. We are here and ready to answer your questions and assist you in any way we can.